Hello, welcome to another episode of the Puzzle Podcast, wherein Isaac and I tackle difficult business questions in an impossible time frame of 10 minutes. We speak from experience. We felt and went through a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff. We combine it with our personal learnings, and that's what we bring. Today we have a beautiful topic. I mean, every topic we discuss is beautiful and wonderful, but today is very motivating. How to anticipate project failure. Isaac, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. So how to anticipate it? Have a very good spider sense, and this comes with experience. It's a bit of a cop out of an answer, but I really do believe that after you've seen a lot of projects, a lot of different teams, a lot of different products too, and situations, you end up developing a keen smell for things which are kind of off. They sound off. Something is not right. People are not engaging with the questions as seriously as you'd expect them to. Excuses, avoidances. So there is definitely a way to anticipate project failure by applying your own gut feeling. Now, this, however, is of course difficult to quantify, difficult to verify, and because it's self-reported, I'm pretty sure that many times we think that something's going to fail, and we might even anticipate something which would not happen, and we might have a hand in pushing it that way. That's the danger of playing things by ear or by gut feeling.
It's like self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I would hesitate to say that it's only that, but I will. I'm curious to see how you would do it, because I think we do have similar experiences in different projects.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
for sure, you cannot just rely on gut feeling and the spidey sense tingling.
yeah. So I'll share three tools that I've either used or somebody suggested for a team that I was part of or a project I was part of. So pre-mortems from Knevin framework, it was heaven and hell. And the third one, actually my favorite that I use most often, but I tried today to find the name. I couldn't find it. I couldn't even find the source. I'm pretty sure it's from Ryuji Fukuda and his work. But I'll start from the last one. That's my favorite, and that is basically you can use it for whatever. But I most often use it for this anticipating failure, and it works really well in some European countries like Balkans and ex-Yugoslavia countries, etc., where there's more a negative approach to work rather than can-do attitude like in the North America. And it's really simple. So you take whatever project, objective, feature, work, and you slap it on the middle of the wall. And you ask people basically, why can't this be done? And everybody jumps like flies on it. I mean, you don't even need to ask it. People who are like, oh, we already tried it. Oh, I mean, the ordering process doesn't support this. Oh, Bruno, oh, Bruno, let me tell you why this won't work. And I love it because, as I said, in some cultures, people have so much energy for it. And you suddenly have this wall full of reasons why this will not work. And then I take a dramatic pause and I ask, so if we solve all of that, does that mean that that in the middle will be possible?
Yeah,
And then silence. What we basically end up is a list of things
which are
that we
risks.
really need to address
Yeah,
for one way or another. And as I said, in some cultures, there's so much energy for that. Oh, I gotta tell you why this won't work. And I'll try harder to find the source. As I said, I'm pretty sure it's from Ryuji Fukuda and his work. But that's basically my favorite way to approach this because it's so portable. You don't need any preparation. You don't need any setup. You can have it in a conversation, like in dialogue, one-to-one. You can have it in a workshop environment. You can have it for something big, for something small, and you can hear how energetic I became about the whole thing. So I'm just gonna pause.
uh, I really like it. I've never done this like that in this way, but it does remind me of something that we used to say. It's okay at IMD where I did my MBA. It's a very famous saying between the classes is put the fish on the table. So something stinks. So there's a fish under the table. I mean, I don't know. The mental image is a bit weird. I don't know where whoever came up with this came up with that. There are different things that can stink under the table, or they don't need to be on the table, but put the fish on the table. So that which stinks, put it out there, address it. And both what you say and other things that, oh, the pre-mortems and all those methods are about facing that which is uncomfortable, or maybe even politically unwise to express. Because if you were to express those things every single day, by definition, you're creating such a negative environment in which the team is operating that you will probably infect everyone with negativity, cynicism, and then they will not even try their best to actually solve problems. So it's definitely not something you want to do every single day, because then it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you create situations where you have a, and I really do not like the expression safe space, but it is emotionally okay to dump, to air the grievances, to, I remember in Switzerland where I used to work, somebody called it in Swiss Kropflerette, which means just empty your head, like dump, brain dump. It is very liberating, especially if people have been dealing with things that they feel they are not allowed to express. If you create a space where people can feel respected enough to be taken seriously when they air their grievances, their concerns that they might have been hiding for quite some time, to not step on toes or to not be thought of as negative, can be immensely powerful. But you need to do it the right way. It doesn't matter if it's this fantastic ritual, because for me it's like a ritual where you bring up all the things that are laying dormant underneath the project, or if you do it with a pre-mortem where you basically consider your project dead for whatever reason. You say, oh, we knew that this was going to come to this, and we knew that this will happen when this happened, we ignored that, we didn't foresee that, we didn't do that, we should have done, should, could, all those hypotheticals. When you bring them up, they are essentially, it's almost like a fantastically motivating and emotionally charged FMEA, failure mode event analysis, because that's basically what it is. You do an FMEA on the project where all the inputs are not just clinically nice sounding and objective. It's just hey, I'm annoyed by this. This should be done better. We are going to kill the project or the product if we don't do this, or if we haven't done that, and that engages people. That can be insanely powerful.
Mm-hmm. And it is something that you mentioned is very important. So there's a lot of talk about emotional safety, safe spaces, etc. Without going into that huge topic, what I find again and again, very good, very simple practice is to not focus on each other. So Isaac might be sharing his grievances, Bruno might be sharing his grievances, but it shouldn't be like, Isaac, you're a stupid fool. Like, why do you always do it like that? Because of you, we never get it done on time. Don't do that. That's just being an ass. That's not productive at all. Like, focus on the processes. They're dead. Focus on the ideas, on the concepts, on the products, on the services, on the project. Like, focus on that and make those the topic of grievances, the topic of conversations, the topic of failures, etc. Of course, you could ask me, but Bruno, what about saboteurs? What about those that deliberately, for whatever reasons, decide to sabotage the project? In my experience, those are in great minority. And when that happens, you have to go full force after you really, really determine that somebody is doing that deliberately. And by saying full force, I'm not saying you should go beat them up. That's unacceptable in civilized world. What I'm thinking is using appropriate internal mechanisms.
I mean, if you have too many people who are in the project and they are negative or enemies of the project, then obviously something's deeply wrong. Then your project has been set up in a way that is might have even been that it has been set up to fail. I don't want to be probably I'm saying something that is people don't want to hear, but I have seen projects which have been set up to fail. Thankfully, I was not in charge of them, but I have seen situations where you know that hey, this is never going to work out, because the way that project was staffed or the way that the targets were set were almost like an excuse to say, oh, it won't work out anyway. So or the people who are in the project, they have been asked to do something which is so ill-conceived, so ill-defined, that they have no other chance to demonstrate that this will not work, but to let it fail, to bring the inevitable to fruition way faster. Because if you tell someone that, hey, it's not going to work because this doesn't work this way, the technology is not ready, the customer that, the customer this, if you bring up all those things and they're well reasoned, you might still either you will talk to someone who will hear you out and will engage you in this kind of a productive, call it productive conflict, which we discussed one other time, or they will put their feet down like a donkey, like a mule, and say, no, you are negative, you don't understand my vision, it's you to blame, and then already you start off on the wrong foot. And then what some people will do if they're forced to adhere to something is something which is actually quite rational, even though I don't think it's honorable, but they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They might basically sabotage the project from inside to prove the very senior stakeholder wrong, that, see, you are an idiot, see, it didn't work. So then it becomes a very, very unproductive and disastrous conflict, which is basically impossible to undo.
Yeah. Well, I do think, or at least I believe most of the things and approaches we discussed, they're intended for people that want to succeed with their projects.
Yes.
So that they genuinely want to do it. Both you and I, and I'm sure listeners as well, you know that corporate life sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense. Zombie projects set up for failures, projects set up only for reasons to gather power, pool resources, get more budget, whatever. I'm not interested in those so much, or at least I don't find them so exciting to discuss, but more like we have had so far. If there's someone like you and me, we want the project to be really, really successful, what can we do? Like,
yeah.
how can we anticipate failure? What are some tips and tricks? And I think we shared enough for that, because this other part of the problems, issues, they require different solutions. Like, you could be using the best tools, have the best advisors, consultants, internal people, and it could still fail because it has nothing to do with the project itself.
Yeah, they're politics. I mean, also, I don't want to focus on those. I'm bringing them up because I think it's important to know that these aberrations exist. So don't try to, I'm saying it because sometimes as engineers, we try to make sense of something that makes no sense rationally. And those irrational situations can exist. But the vast majority of projects that happen in companies are not marred by such situation. Otherwise, the company will not exist for too long. And in those cases, having the guts to call it, put the fish on the table, air the grievances, have everyone complain and figure out why this will not work, it can be a very, very good instrument to set the project back on track. And to actually, if you do it, if those of you who are listening to us have ever done it or are about to do something like this, an intervention to help a project prevent its own death, you will see how the climate in the team will change. It is incredibly powerful. So if you haven't tried it out yet, try it in the right way, of course.
Okay, Isaac, we're gonna wrap up on this invitation challenge. Let's not classify it. It's in the eye of the beholder. Dear listeners, thank you for listening. Again, if you have any difficult question that you would like us to discuss, just email us, fire a message on LinkedIn. You know where to find us. And until next week.
Until next time. Bye-bye.